Hello again and welcome to the third in our series of panel talks. This one is titled Out of Arles, the Other Photo Festivals, where we're looking at smaller photo festivals in other parts of the world. First of all, I'd like to introduce my co-presenter in the studio. Heike Ollertz is Professor of Photography and Dean of the Faculty of Art and Design at the University of Europe for Applied Sciences. You're also a founding member of the agency Fokus, die Fotografinnen, and a co-founder of the Hamburg Portfolio Review.
Thank you. With us today via video link are Sarker Protick from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and Teona Gogichaishvili from Tbilisi. Before we introduce the two, the same request as before, please use the chat to ask a lot of questions so we can have a lively discussion and can cover everything you're hoping to get out of this talk.
Sarker is a photojournalist lecturer at the Pashtwala South Asian Media Institute. He's a winner of multiple awards, including the World Press Photography Award in 2015, and is the founder of and co-curator at Chobi Mela International Photography Festival in Dhaka. He is represented by East Wing Gallery.
Teona was born in Georgia and has been living in Germany for 22 years. She now works as a lecturer and curator and curates exhibition projects in Germany and abroad. But as a documentary and art photographer, she also focuses on her own photographic practice. But above all, and that's what we are focusing on today, since 2011, she has been the co-organizer and curator of the International Photo Festival Kolga Tbilisi, Photo in Tbilisi.
And both Teona and Sarker have prepared presentations about their festival. Would you like to start, Sarker? Oh, I think we can't hear you.
Sorry, I think, can you hear me now?
That's better now.
I think I can also share my screen, so I think you'll be able to see. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here from Dhaka. I'm joining you from Dhaka. Also to be to share with Teona here a little bit about our festival. Just a little correction I'll make. I am not the founder of the festival. I'm one of the co-curator of the festival. The festival was founded by Shahidul Alam, and it was founded in 2000. This is the longest running and the oldest photo festival, international photo festival in Asia. And it was founded by Shahidul Alam from a realization when he was traveling in Europe and especially Arles, and observing that often the spaces of photography are dominated by a certain group or a community or a geographical territory, a bit limited. And I think it is still are. If you even, I think last year there was a statistic about the participation of artists in art, and how much of them were male and female, but also how much of them were white men. And I think this is something that was obviously struck Shahidul already by then. And he was also aware of certain limitation of traveling, and countries which can travel and can have the mobility to travel in different other countries because due to visa complication and so many more. Anyways, he thought that if we cannot be there, we will create our own and we'll bring them here. And so thus Chobi Mela was born, and Chobi Mela has since been active. It's a biennale, it's the longest running biennale, and it is also this year it was supposed to be our 11th edition, but we, instead of doing the 11th edition, we did the edition 0. And I'll start from this year's edition, so we can go back from there. This year edition 0, which we in Bangla we call in our Shunno. And Shunno is a number, a concept that was originated from the Southeast Asian continent. But it didn't exist in the Roman number system. And it's both a number and a word. It often means an empty space, a vacuum, or a circle which starts and ends at the same time. And with this special edition 0 or Shunno, Chobi Mela Shunno, Chobi Mela raises essential question about its own purpose, because it has been active for so many years, and since last 22 years, there has been many festival which has started in especially last 10 years, inspired from Chobi Mela. Festivals from Southeast Asia, such as Malaysia, Cambodia, in Nepal, in India, multiple photo festivals started. And it was the source, Chobi Mela was the source which kind of generated that that active sense of community and that strong engagement with the medium of photography. So after 20 years, we needed to kind of also think what is our, what can be our role now, since when we started, there was no festival around, right? But also it was at a point when we were just coming out of the first wave of the pandemic. And of course, we were not, we didn't expect there will be a second wave, which were more deadly this year. But Chobi Mela Shunno appeared in physically, and sorry, I realize I'm not showing any image. But Chobi Mela Shunno happened physically during a time when pandemic was almost gone, or at least we thought were gone. And we felt it was important for us to come together as a group of artists and curator to engage and activate the community, which was quite disengaged, especially because of the 2020 pandemic, since the 2020 pandemic started. So that was the main context of Chobi Mela 0 this year. And we had exhibitions, the one that is usually the curated exhibitions that we call off limits. I'll just show a little bit here, as you can see, and we do several curated projects. For example, you can see also both our Intellection, which is a fellowship program that we give and invite young artists and photographers from our country to make exhibitions. We also invite curators from the region, such as Anatomies of Tongue, which is also a collaboration with the festival Sri Lanka Media Art Festival. We invited Swiss artist Mara Zust, who has been doing a research on printing press on the West Bengal, and we have started a long-term, program with her for this edition, where she will be focusing on printing press history of the East Bengal or Bangladesh, and we'll also collaborate with artists from Dhaka. At the same time, we invited collectives, many artist collectives, young artist collectives, to be also taken part. Each edition, we also make an exhibition retrospective of one of the important photographers of Bangladesh. This year we did a retrospective exhibition of Saida Khanum. She is the first female photographer, and she also recently passed her last year. So we wanted to also have an exhibition of her, because she has, she started at a time when there was no female photographer active, and even after many years, she was the only one, and she was very much committed, and she has a long body of works. So we arranged a retrospective for her. We also did an architectural exhibition by one of the most important architects of Bangladesh, Bashirul Haq, who also passed away, and who also designed our institute, our school Pathshala's campus. That was his last work. And speaking of Pathshala, I think it's important to talk. One of the main component is community, because I think the way Chobi Mela has developed over the years, and the way also it has grown and evolved, is because of the shared community and the people and the students and the alumni of the school and the young artist communities which exist in Dhaka and Bangladesh. Because otherwise this festival like this, arranging in a city where there's no support from the government or any sort of funding, wouldn't be possible. And I think that is something core, the most core in our practice. It's not necessarily that exists for the festival, it exists already due to the school and due to the long years of engagement. And I think that is what is the main engine that runs Chobi Mela. Chobi Mela was founded by Shahidul Alam, but over the period of time, he also have given space to younger artists and practitioners who were coming out of school and doing their own practices. And that's why the festival also has went into so many different directions. The core of Chobi Mela was always to bring stories for social change, as the same as school. But in terms how it looks into photography, it has also changed over the time. And as much it gives space to the more documentary and classical photojournalism, we are also interested in many different forms of photography and how photography can be experimented and questioned and rethink and reconsider. That's why we also work with many other artists from different backgrounds, and we invite them to use the medium of photography and interpret and raise different questions that we usually wouldn't think otherwise. But regardless of the fact, as you can see in the photographs that I'm showing on now, it's a group of people which almost works like a collective, and it was interesting to also give this presentation after the previous talks, because I think the idea of collective is something very important. And even though we don't formally acknowledge ourselves as a collective, but this is a work of a collective of teachers, collective of artists, collective of photographers. And not only that, also there's a lot of people who helps us to build the exhibition, and that means from the painters, from the exhibition makers, the exhibition designers, the people who are building the objects, the architectures. I think this is a huge effort from all this group, and that sense of collective is very important, that we nurture consciously, but we are also, I think, we are very much blessed that we have that.
That was fascinating. But we'll move on first to the second presentation about Kolga, the Kolga festival in Tbilisi. Do we have?
And dear audience, please don't forget to ask your questions in the chat, please.
Yeah. Teona, are we okay?
Teona, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you so much to be here. Thank you for your invitation to the wonderful event. And thank you for your help, dear Dagmar and Heike. So my English is not good yet. I would be very grateful for your support. So I prepared for you two videos. It takes about 15 minutes. And after then, you can ask some questions. So it can be started. Thank you.
მესამე მეოთხე ქოლგას ვატარებთ, კი ძალიან დიდი იყო ჩართულობა ახალგაზრდების, მაგრამ ნუ ვიფიქრეთ, კაი გავერთეთ ახლა ერთხელ ორჯერ და როდემდე, ხო? და ერთხელ დილით მანქანაში რადიოში მოვისმინე ესეთი რამე, ახალგაზრდა გოგონა იყო, რომელიც ამბობდა, რომ ვარ ძალიან ბედნიერია, იმიტომ რომ დამირეკეს და ჩემი ფოტო მოხვდა საუკეთესოების შორისო, საუბარი იყო ჩვენ ფესტივალზე და მაშინ მივხვდი, რომ ქოლგა უნდა გაგრძელებულიყო აუცილებლად.
ბესვარი მთავარი დრაივი და მთავარი მოტორი, თქოს ყველაფერი ამისი, ჩვენ ტრიალებდით და ვიკრებობდით მის გარშემო. თუ კი ახლა ჩვენ დღეს რაღაცაზე ვლაპარაკობთ, ჩვენ ყვებით ახალგაზრდა კაცის ცხოვრების ბოლო 20 წლის ისტორიას, ამაზე არის საუბარი, იმიტომ რომ ეს იყო ქოლგიდან ქოლგამდე წლები, ეს მიდო უკვე 20 წელი უკვე ესე გრძელდება.
სუნგონია რომ მე და ქოლგა ერთად გავიზარდეთ, იმიტომ რომ რაღაცნაირად ეს ფოტოგრაფია ძალიან აქტიურად რო გაჩნდა ჩემს ცხოვრებაში, ქოლგაც რაღაცნაირად დიდი სტიმული იყო. ადრე სხვანაირი პრინციპი იყო ფოტოების მიტანის, ფოტოზე უკან აწერდნენ შენს ტელეფონის ნომერს, საკონტაქტოს და მე გირეკავდა და მახსოვს რომ ეს რო დამირეკეს და გამარჯობა თქვენი ფოტო გავიდა ქოლგაზე, ეს იყო აი რაღაცა გაგიჟებული ვიყავი სიხარულესგან.
შერჩევის დროს პირადად მე ვითას მეხემძღანლობ რამდენად გახსნილია და გულწრფელია ავტორი მის ფოტოებსაც ახლა უყურებ. საჩვენებლათაც კი გაქვს სტანდარტი, აი თანამედროვე მსოფლიო სტანდარტით არის პროფილი გაკეთებული. გრიდზე და ცენტრულ კომპოზიციაზე კი აღარ ესაკუთრება. ცხოვრება იყო იმ ფოტოების ჩადებული. აი ამ სტანდარტის ჩამოყალიბებაში, აი ამ სტანდარტის ჩვეულებრივად ქცევაშიც მიიღო კოლგამ დიდი როლი. მაგრამ საბოლოო ჯამში უნდა იმარჯვებდეს ძალიან მკაცრად, ძალიან მკაცრი პრინციპების მიხედვით შერჩეული ფოტო.
ჩვენ გახსნას ყოველთვის ვცდილობთ რაღაც განსხვავებული სახე მივცეთ. ყოველთვის ქართველების ამბიციურობა პირდაპირ რუსთავზე ავიღეთ აქცენტი. მაშინ დამზადდა სპეციალური მოლბერტები. გამოვიდა ძალიან კაი სანახაობა, იმიტომ დაიკეტა ქუჩა ის მონაკვეთი, ხო, სადაც ეს გამოფენა გაეწყო. შუქი ჩავაქრეთ სპეციალურად.
აი 2014 წელს თუ არ ვცდები იყო ეს, როდესაც შევედი რუმსის ეზოში და უცებ დავინახე აი უზარმაზარი ფანჯრების ადგილას, რომ იყო უზარმაზარი ფოტოები გამოფენილი და მახსოვს რომ აი რომ შევედით, ვაუ, თქვით, იმიტომ რომ აი ეს იყო იმდენად ამაღელვებელი და იმდენად მნიშვნელოვანი, რომ ანუ უცებ გამახსენდა აი ეს მოლბერტებიდან გაზრდილი ფესტივალი, რომელიც გამოდის ამხელა მასშტაბზე და მანდ მივხვდი, რომ ანუ ქოლგამ გადალახა რაღაც დიდი ბარიერი.
ისეთ პერიოდს დაემთხვა ლოკდაუნი მთელ მსოფლიოს მასშტაბით, რომ კოლგა თბილისი ფოტოს პროგრამა ზუსტად ამ დროს უნდა განხორციელებულიყო. შესაბამისად გამოვიდა ესე ობიექტურად, რომ კოლგა თბილისი ფოტო იყო პირველი ონლაინ ფოტოფესტივალი მთელ მსოფლიოში.
ფოტოგრაფიაში რაც ალბათ ყველაზე მეტად მიყვარს და მგონია რომ მართლა უდიდესი ძალა გააჩნია არის ის რომ როდესაც გაყენებს ფაქტის წინაშე. როდესაც მივდივარ გადასაღებად და როდესაც ადამიანი მიშვებს თავის სივრცეში და მიიღებს კარს და მე მის ტერიტორიაზე ვარ, მე თავიდან ბოლომდე ვემორჩილები მას. ეს ადამიანი ჩემთვის ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია და მისი ისტორიაც ჩემთვის ბევრად მნიშვნელოვანი არის, ვიდრე ვიღაცამ რომ მითხრას რომ ვაუ, რა მაგარი ფოტო გადაიღე.
გაცილებით უფრო მნიშვნელოვანია, კარგი ფოტოს გადაღებაზე უფრო მნიშვნელოვანია, რომ გაზარდო ვიღაცები. აი ვინც შეცვლის მერე გემოვნებას ქვეყანაში. და ქოლგა ეგეთი მოვლენა, ქოლგა ცვლის გემოვნებას ნაბიჯ, მაგრამ იცვლება ყველაფერი იცვლება, მაგრამ ის მაინც რო იცვი რომ რაღაცა კარგი ფოტო გამოფენას მაინც ნახავ წელიწადში ერთხელ, ეს ძალიან მაგარი ამბავი.
შეიძლება ითქვას, რომ ის ადამიანები, ის ფესტივალის მომზადებაში იღებდნენ მონაწილეობას, არიან აი ალბათ ათასობით ადამიანი ამ წლების განმავლობაში. მათი შრომა რო არა, დღეს თეობით არ იარსებოდა ჩვენი ფოტოფესტივალი და დღევანდელი გამოსახედიდან ძალიან დიდი მადლიერი ვარ იმ ადამიანებს, რომლებიც აბსოლუტურად უანგაროდ იმუშავეს კოლგის განვითარებისთვის.
What is Kolga anyway? What does it mean? Since when does it exist? How does the festival work? When did I join? What exactly do I do? These and many other questions come up again and again in relation to our festival. I will try to answer these and other questions here, of course, from my personal point of view. First of all, briefly about the name. Kolga is an umbrella, a photo umbrella, a photo contest since the early 2000s, which became festival since 2012. Kolga is now a big family, partly international, scattered in Georgia, Western and Eastern Europe, also partly across the ocean. Once a year in early May, we meet for a week in Tbilisi, capital of Georgia, to celebrate photography. Many facets of photography, from a portrait to documentary, from conceptual to snapshots. There is a lot going on. The authors are partly well-known international figures, dead and living, but also students and new talents. How do we choose them? Differently, through contacts, recommendations, applications, another criterion besides interesting and professional, The chemistry between us must be right. The arrangements must work, and it must not to be too expensive, because Kolga is a photo festival with a very small budget. For the most part, it is financed by Ministry of Culture in Georgia. For the other part, by private sponsors. But since photography in Georgia is not yet on a par with other art forms, it is not easy to find sponsors for photography projects. We all work on a voluntary basis, but it's not a hobby, it's a serious work, now an integral part of our lives. Let me now introduce a part of our Kolga team. The man with the hat, Beso Chaindrava, Kolga's founder, a man of few words. He loves reportage photography, preferably black and white. The woman with the red crutch, Tina Schellhorn, the most experienced curator not only in our cycles but across the ocean as well. The lady on the phone, Nino Anna Samcharadze, who answers all your mails and organizes everything that needs to be organized. The best dancer in our cycle, the photographer Wolfgang Zurborn, a jack of all trades. Without him, we wouldn't have our Cologne Tbilisi connections. The networker and curator, that's me, trying to connect everything, people, cultures, photographers, and audience. A big part of the festival is our indispensable audience, for the most part local, not only the educated middle class and family, but also everyone else, people from different walks of life, neighbors from the neighborhood, their friends and children. All our exhibitions are free of charge. There is no such thing as a festival pass. There will be different locations, from big museums to old factories, places in transition. What else is Kolga to us besides photography and family? It is a great exchange between the local and international audience, between generations, between professionals and ambitious amateurs. It also means getting to know Georgian culture, bit by bit, piece by piece, where old meets new, the special symbiosis of the Orient and Occident. How did it all start? Back in the winter of 2010, during a business trip to Georgia, I met Beso Chaindrava, Kolga's founder. We meet in his office in Tbilisi History Museum, also called Karvasla, old caravanserai from 19th century. Crammed with Kolga's catalogs and posters. It was like a love at first sight. I knew Kolga, the only photo contest in Georgia, for many years, but that Beso was behind it was still unknown to me, because he never pushed himself in the foreground, and even in the Kolga catalogs never gave his full name, but only BK for Beso Chaindrava. More than that would be redundant. Everyone knew him. But I had been in Germany since 1996, and at that time I had hardly any contact with Georgian photo scene. And so it happened. I was sitting in Beso's office, looking at one Kolga catalog after the other. Some of them were very good shots, but they seemed to be thrown together. There was no real sequence, no concept, no coherence. All these catalogs were collections of single photographs, for the most part by Georgian photographers. There was no international touch. So we decided then that we would like to work together and to try to restructure Kolga and, as a first step, present the competition outside the border of Georgia. We needed a professional support because at that time, 10 years ago, there was hardly any scene with an international experience in terms of photography in Georgia. So when I returned to Germany, I approached the photographer Wolfgang Zurborn and the curator Tina Schellhorn. I had already known both of them for their gallery Lichtblick, which was famous in and outside Cologne. Our interaction and consultations getting more and more intense, and Tina and Wolfgang became the first German Kolga jurors in 2011 and personally attended the awards ceremony of Kolga Tbilisi in Georgia. For them, it was also like love at first sight. And now it has been 10 years. Our team has grown. Our program has become bigger and more diverse. Kolga is now not only a photo contest, but also a photo festival with exhibitions, workshops, lectures, and portfolio reviews. More and more visitors from outside Georgia come to our opening week, where there is a special atmosphere, strolling from one opening to another, tasting the delicious Georgian cuisine in between and afterwards, enjoying the sunny spring weather in Tbilisi. Many exhibition halls are not far away from each other. On our way, you get to meet other festival participants and local visitors. You get to see different quarters of the city, and you often have a good opportunity to stop to take pictures. It all sounds very harmonious now and maybe even romantic, yes, but it is one side of our festival. And the other side, the difficulties, where should I start? Small budget, uncertain situation regarding funding, which depends on the political situation in Georgia, where ministers frequently change. Political and economical situation in the country is partly responsible for this, as well as almost non-existing institutional and private collectors. Since we, the whole team, are volunteers and have to earn our money elsewhere, we can't devote the time and attention that we would like to invest to the festival. Due to this fact, there are different expectations and wishes in the team. For some team members, it might as well as it is. I personally would like to see more of a professional approach, permanent positions for the so-called main team members, even part-time, a more structured way of working, more focus on content and dealing with current social-political issues, a greater focus on education, theoretical and practical workshops and seminars for festival participants, especially for locals who don't have as many opportunities to pursue their photographic education on site. Despite the fact that photography in Georgia, like everywhere else, is very popular, especially among the young generation, there are still few opportunities to study photography and get a comprehensive education. Although some private schools offer photography courses, they are mostly limited in terms of technology and content. As professional training and possibilities, for example, in Germany, does not exist yet. There is a lack of photo lobby in the educational policy. Despite a long tradition of photography in Georgia, dating from the 19th century, there is a lack of adequate research and reception. I would also like to see more international exchange and not only one-sided. In the last 10 years, we have invited great international guests to visit our festival in Georgia. However, these visits have not yet been reciprocated. I would like to see the participation of the photographers and generally photo creators from Georgia in the international photo scene abroad. By this, I mean more involvement in exhibitions here, attendance in panel discussions and festivals. The mutual exchange not only inspires the imagination and creativity, but also creates more equality, solidarity, and understanding among each other. Therefore, I am all the more grateful for this great opportunity to introduce you to our festival and thus to our country and culture. Thank you very much for your intention.
I'm sorry.
What is Kolga?
Now, okay. Thank you very much to all of you for your presentations and congratulations to your wonderful festivals. We have a first question here in the chat. It's from Catherine Cheng, and she's interested to hear your thoughts on how photo festivals from different countries and regions can better come together and collaborate to connect their respective photo communities. Teona, you like to answer first, or?
I would like to write it down and to get it in chat. Is okay? Because for me it's easier to write down, and before maybe can Sarker answer this question. It's okay?
Sure, I will just, I can share a little bit from what we did. We felt, the question that you asked was something that we have also thinking, and we also have thought about, not necessarily sometimes with different country, but we thought about cities, because country can be sometimes too big, and country means always border. What we did this year was we tried to connect two cities with Dhaka, where we are from. One of the cities is Chittagong on the south of Bangladesh, because when it's a capital city, often art and the whole art or photography, all sorts of cultural activities can be very centralized, and you kind of even miss out a lot of other activities that happens in smaller cities perhaps. So we connected with the festival, Cheragi Art Festival, which is also a very beautiful fine art festival on the south of Bangladesh. And then we also connected with Colombo, which is which is in Sri Lanka. Through Colombo, we also connected with Colombo Scope, which is a media art festival, and we invited their curator to curate a show with us. And this, so she brought artists from their upcoming edition, and she's made a selected curated show at Chobi Mela. So in a way, their event, which is about to happen in the end of this year, has already begun with Chobi Mela. And also when their event is happening, will happen, there will be also a selected artist who will be showing their work. In this way, I think we kind of exchange not only different artists and their work, but also a curatorial dialogue, and also much deeper, dialogue and relationship. And same goes for also Chittagong. And we, of course, we have friends from Nepal and India, and I think in future we'll be also interested to find all these, translocal boundaries and cities to connect with.
Thank you.
I think that's one way I can say, definitely.
So Teona answered, it would be nice, like here at the Hamburg Portfolio Review, to have a platform for different photo festivals where we can exchange ideas. I think we will establish this platform for the photo festivals at Hamburg Portfolio Review the next years. And let me say one last sentence to your presentation. We all love to see Wolfgang Zurborn dancing at the festivals.
Yeah, that was lovely. Can I ask you both, if people want to get involved in your festival, like as exhibitors or take part in portfolio reviews, how do they do that? How do they approach you? What's the application process?
Fiona, do you want to go first?
Maybe you want to start again?
Okay, all right. So we have an open call, which we give in 1 year before, and it's always based on a theme. And anybody from anywhere in the world can send their work, and that goes through a jury, of course, a selection committee. But also we have our own curatorial research team. As different curators, we also want to, because we also want to make it a diverse festival, so we can have voices and stories from all different kind of places. For example, the global south is something very important that we acknowledge, and that means Latin America, that means from Africa, that means from Pacifics, Southeast Asia. And so, there are many artists that are often difficult to reach there, or they find it reached out, because of the traveling and everything. So we do our own research also, and we invite artists, obviously based on that year's specific theme or conceptual ground. So that's one way. And of course, there is office secretariat of the festival where anybody can reach out if they have interesting ideas and proposals.
Thank you. And now Teona is writing. It is different. Meanwhile, many know us and approach us directly. In the past, we did a lot of research and approached people directly. So you don't do open calls?
We have an open calls only for our contest. We have this photo contest also. It's very official, but not open call for exhibitions. And we don't have theme.
Thank you.
Thanks. Something you both, well, especially Teona touched on was, are there any restrictions in the regions, the countries your festivals take place, like political or religious or societal no-go zones?
Definitely. I was not able to talk about that. I didn't realize it was so fast, but no, we have a complicated relationship with the government. I don't know if you know, but obviously our founder was abducted and arrested by the government in 2018 because an interview that he gave to Al Jazeera. So since then we obviously had a very difficult. They don't support us. Of course, we are always on close watch because even online or even public, there's always there are people who are looking. So it's always a challenge. Of course, we used to once have a venue which is the National Gallery, but we don't also participate in that or have access on that anymore. So there's obviously a very strong anti-force regarding everything that we do.
And Teona is saying that in Georgia we can show just about anything, but some topics like LGBTQ are still difficult. And the Orthodox Church in Georgia is very powerful and influences people a lot.
Okay. And yeah, something else we were interested to know, obviously your festivals are compared to the traditional festival, the big ones, the Arles and the Perpignans and all these. How do you see those? Do you have any bugbears about them, like a particularly dominant Western, if not to say colonialist viewpoint?
Always. It's very obvious if you're there, I think we are also talking about agencies before this panel, right? And I think there was a time I was also part of an agency, very good, good agency, and I'm very happy I was there. But even from that point on, I have seen, when you sit in a room and you see, let's say you're the probably only colored person, and maybe there's just only one woman in the group. But that is kind of the reality, and we are operating in for many years. If I'm going to Arles, that's the reality, that's how it's very much, and I get that. I think it's many years of, it has been happening for so long. I think it will take long time also to move on from that same phase. So yeah, I don't know, Teona, maybe you can say something.
Okay, thanks.
And Teona is letting us know, yes, it is very hard to be taken seriously. It takes years. In the meantime, we have the feeling that we are seen, but for that we had to exist for 10 years. So it isn't that easy.
Wow, yeah, that's quite shocking actually. Yeah. Also, do you decide on a theme? Do you have changing themes at your festivals? A theme, like a changing theme, do you decide on it? Do you have a collective that, yeah, okay.
Yes, for us, every edition has a different theme, which we discuss within the group, and also examining the contemporary situation, whatever that is happening, and that's something that we want to reflect in every edition.
Okay, and you do it as a group. You could together.
Yes.
You decide what's the best theme to go for this year. Okay, and Teona?
Yeah, Teona add something to the last topic, and she was saying that she has the feeling that the Western likes to teach and listen less, and to the specific themes, we don't have specific theme. The exhibitions are very different, so various topics and themes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we need to have a much more open mind about things that go on elsewhere. Yeah.
And it's a mix between historical and young positions. Okay.
And again, you touched on the pandemic. What did you learn during the pandemic? Were there any things you would like to keep? Were there some unexpected advantages of it, and what can't you wait to see the back of?
I will start then, maybe Teona. I think one of the thing that we definitely felt is how much important is physicality. As much nice all these online settings are, which is I think one of the blessings for pandemic we can take away, because even though this platform were existing before, this sort of virtual possibility of connecting with other, through boundaries we are not something we're doing. But I think that's something that pandemic allowed us. But at the same time, we felt how much special it is to experience, work of art physically with its all tactility and sense of space. At the same time, also meeting people in real life. I think we all have realized that. So for this edition, we really wanted to have a hybridity of reality. So as much we did everything physically, we also made the whole exhibition virtually. So the whole exhibition it's still open and you can access through our website. All the exhibition can be seen virtually. And I think that's something we have, adopted and we want to take forward. I think the both of this reality is important for us. And I think we can, I think we can combine them to make it more interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Teona is writing that Zoom is this kind of exchange we would not like to miss anymore. I'm sometimes not that sure about it, but then you were writing right away that there's no substitute for personal encounters. And for Kolga is especially characteristics, is personal encounters and all that around it. And this is exactly what we all experienced, more or less, I guess. And also for Hamburg Portfolio Review, we were very, very happy that we had at least a hybrid, some kind of hybrid solution for this year. So some of the reviewers have been here with us, and some of you are here today, and some of the young photographers. And let me announce this, we will, during the next days, we will also put the exhibition online on our website with all the 100 chosen positions. So this is just coming the next days. So also as the Hamburg Portfolio Review is learning from the pandemic situation and trying to do the best out of it.
Yeah.
One little bit just wanted to add from your question. Another thing that we took from the pandemic was in all of our edition, it was an international edition, but this year we made a South Asian edition. There's multiple reasons for that. One is, of course, the travel, the mobility of everything. But we also felt it was important to, look back more to ourselves and also acknowledge our neighbors. So that's why, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, that the connections that we have, we wanted to nurture that more. So of course, we'll go back next time again to being an international edition. We'll have international artists, but this was also important to acknowledge that what we have next door is something very, very valuable. And even though we have a limited audience, even that audience can be enough for us, you know.
Mm-hmm. But it also has something a little bit democratizing about it, hasn't it? The ability that photographers with lesser means can access the portfolio reviews via Zoom, for instance. It does open up the world a little bit in that respect too. So it's not all bad about the pandemic in some ways, you know. It taught us a lot, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I think we have come to the end of our panel talk here, and we thank you so much for having been part of this and having introduced your festivals. We really enjoyed that, and like all of our guests, we're very appreciative of you having made the time, and hopefully see you in real life very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.